This guy went in and shot up a school. What's your solution? Hey, all of you that didn't go in and shoot up a school, hand over your guns, because that's going to deter this guy. And I'm looking at this going, wait a second, guns have been around in massive quantities in the United States for hundreds of years. It used to be that during hunting season, boys would show up with their shotguns in the truck on school so they could immediately get out to the fields as soon as school was over. Yet we didn't have this problem. Why are school shootings like this a recent phenomenon in American history? Gun ownership is not a recent phenomenon. Schools are not a recent phenomenon. So why is it different now? I think there's two things you have to look at. One is, how do you address the immediate problem? Well, I don't think you address the immediate problem by telling a bunch of people that did nothing wrong that they have to give up essential civil liberties. I think you address it by having more security in the places which have become vulnerable targets. And this is the part that they really don't want to talk about. How do we get to a point where there is such a disregard for human life that somebody believes that a perfectly legitimate way to express their frustration with the world is to shoot the most innocent within our society?
Pennsylvania Supreme Court tells Philadelphia, no, you can't make your own gun laws. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms for your NRA certification of multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfarmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. And if you like channel, like content and what I do here, you can support me with a link. Everything is appreciated. And once again, comments. If your comment disappears, I'm not doing it. There is a growing problem on YouTube with scrutiny of gun-related channels. So they are just taking out comments. I will go further and say that they're probably looking at every single comment on gun-related channels just so they can remove them. So if it disappears, I'm not doing it. Let's talk about this. And this is interesting. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court, in a unanimous decision, has told the city of Philadelphia that they cannot make gun laws that are contrary to state law, which is, of course, monumental. We can't have cities, districts, counties making their own laws that are in defiance of established state law, because then you have a hodgepodge of gun laws across the entire state, and you could be going from one place to another, and all of a sudden you're good where you are, and all of a sudden you cross a line, and all of a sudden you're breaking a law. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that. And I'm glad that, and this Pennsylvania Supreme Court is a Democrat court. So that tells you how off base Philadelphia was with this. But let me bring you here. Pennsylvania Supreme Court upholds state's firearm preemption law. In a lawsuit brought by the city of Philadelphia and community organizers, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court on Tuesday upheld the state's firearms preemption law. This law forbids cities from instituting more restricted gun statutes than the state laws. The court ruled unanimously that the plaintiffs failed to make their case that the law was unconstitutional and should be struck down. In the case Crawford versus Commonwealth, Philadelphia argued that the preemption statutes violates the Pennsylvania Constitution by increasing the risk of gun violence, which is a bad argument. The city and a coalition of its residents also argued that the two state laws prohibiting local governments from enacting local firearms regulations violated the state's guarantee of the right to defend life and liberty. The ruling affirmed a decision from a lower Pennsylvania court dismissing Philadelphia's petition with prejudice. The city of Philadelphia has repeatedly violated the state's firearm preemption law, most recently attempting to ban firearms in city parks and outlaw the private manufacturing of firearms. In its ruling, this court stated that the General Assembly's preemption of local firearms regulation is a legitimate exercise of its legislative authority aimed at ensuring consistency and protecting the constitutional right of Pennsylvania's citizens. Quote from the ruling, the accounts of gun violence set forth in the petition, like all other instances of gun violence, are undeniably tragic. The ruling stated, there is also no doubt that a serious problem exists in this Commonwealth relative to gun violence and its impact on our citizenry. While certain municipalities and residents thereof may believe, even justifiably, that our state government is not doing enough to remedy this problem, and that particular local regulations are needed to do so, but are preempted by the FPLs. We emphasize the adequacy of the legislation to cope with the problem and the wisdom or lack thereof on the part of the legislature in framing the legislation is not for us to determine. Such questions are solely for the legislature to determine upon their province. we must not encroach. Basically, it's passing the buck is what they're doing here. We're not going to say that Philadelphia can do whatever they want. It's on the legislator. It's their fault if you feel there's too much gun violence in your city. It's passing the buck. Let me come out of that. But this is a big deal, as I stated before, because it prevents these cities and counties from making their own gun laws, which are more restrictive than what the state has determined. Which, once again, could make you a felon going from one place to another. One city to another, all of a sudden you could be in trouble. And that's just is not logical at all. But then again, the anti-gun movement does not use logic in their arguments. It's always about their feelings. This happened, and I did this many years ago in Colorado. Well, Colorado was trying to push the same thing, which ended up where the state of Colorado could have a hodgepodge of gun laws across the state, where an item is banned in one county and it's legal in another county. That's not logical. It doesn't make any sense, and it will lead to a disaster. And in the end of it all, is this really preventing crime and violence? Forget about gun violence, crime and violence. Will this really subdue it? No, it'll just get worse. Because once again, you're telling good people what they can or cannot do, and that does not make any sense. But immediately, of course, Democrats at the state level, in the state legislature, are now pushing to have the FPL, to have it changed so that Philadelphia can do exactly what they were trying to do in the first place. Which, once again, there's no logic in that thinking. Because who is going to follow the laws? The law abiding. The criminals are not going to follow this law. The criminals are not going to go, oh, we're passing into this city. We're not supposed to do this. It doesn't happen. They really just need to stop and really get it together. Okay? You want to prevent crime, gun violence, if you want to talk about that, start locking these people up for criminal activity. Start dropping the hammer. Get rid of these soft, uncrimed district attorneys and drop the hammer. Start giving real punishment. You will see gun crime go down. When these people start realizing that there is a truly an accountability for their trade, they will stop doing it. Just my thought. But let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified the next time a video goes live. I'm going to see you on the next one. Peace.